The Joe Rogan Experience.
Now, I'm not saying not even a false flag, but allowing something to happen or
Here's where I
knowing,
disagree
having
with that.
knowledge. I'm not attached to this at all. I don't even agree with it myself.
Right.
I'm just saying that this is like a concept that people throw around. Like,
so in counter to that concept, I would argue Netanyahu was elected just before this whole judicial reform thing happened. The fact that the left was protesting, it doesn't mean that Netanyahu was in kind of an existential situation. His base loved him. If anything,
so
the protests fired up his base even more.
So it was kind of like the women's march after Trump won.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It was bigger than that. I want to give it credit. It was bigger than that. It was dividing Israeli society more than that. But Netanyahu didn't, even from that situation, however precarious it was, his situation immediately got worse after October 7th because everyone blamed him. And it's only gotten worse in the past few months if you look at the polling on approval of Netanyahu. So if it was a false flag, it'd be the dumbest false flag in the world. And he's not a dumb guy. So there's no chance it's a false flag.
So the other conspiracy theory would be that they had foreknowledge of it, but they allowed it to happen. This is one that gets attached to 9/11 as well, right?
Yes, it gets attached to everything. And
of course.
But I mean, my thing with that is, if you're in a country like Israel, if you're the Mossad or the Shin Bet, you have Hamas, Hamas in Gaza, Hamas in the West Bank, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Iran, Houthis, and so on. And you're basically getting every single day, you're getting a list of 14, 15 different threats and plans on Israel, right? Some of them small, some of them huge. How do you distinguish between the ones that are likely to happen and the ones are not? This is a very difficult thing. It's not obvious, right? You use your intelligence. You try to have spies in all the Palestinian areas that are informing and so forth. But you're constantly getting signals of threats all the time, right? So to say they knew about it, is not the same as they might have gotten information about. They did get information about a plan to attack at some point. They didn't know it was going to happen on October 7th. They didn't know the scale of it or how successful it was going to be.
How was it so successful if they have the most sophisticated surveillance system?
How was it so successful?
Why?
Well,
how were they able to pull that off?
So it was partly because normally Israel would have lots of IDF stationed on the border with Gaza because there's a wall there, but they would normally have they had very few soldiers there because they were distracted, the whole country divided over these protests. The soldiers were in the West Bank. Oh. And this is one of the reasons why people blame Netanyahu, because it was under his watch that they took their eye off Hamas. Now, this is where it goes to the first theory, that Netanyahu wanted to keep Hamas in power. One of the reasons why he thought he benefited, and I guess he did benefit from Hamas staying in power, is that they believed Hamas was deterred. In other words, they believed mistakenly, partly because Hamas was sending these signals for years, that Hamas, it doesn't want to fight us right now. Right now, they're focused on taking all our money and taking the world's money and building stuff in Gaza. And Hamas was very smart. They allowed Israel to believe that while they planned this whole thing. So they got complacent, essentially. And this happens with groups all the time. I mean, like, they fought with Hezbollah in 2006, but the assumption has been that Hezbollah hasn't really made a major plans to attack full scale, even though their army is way stronger than Hamas. I mean, Hezbollah has an incredibly strong army. But Israelis assume that because we bombed them so bad in 2006, and they told us, if we knew, the leader of Hezbollah said this, if they knew how badly you were going to come after us because of our raid in 2006, we never would have done it. Signaling that essentially Hezbollah is not going to do anything, even though they hate Israel, even though their whole organization started to fight Israel, they're not going to do anything right now. And this is when you have a country with that many security threats on all sides, they sometimes rely on this notion that these people are deterred because they know what will happen to them if they attack, and so they won't attack. And that's what they thought was true of Hamas, and that's why they were giving Hamas money and increasing the amount of Palestinians that could come to Gaza and so forth. So it was all a tragic miscalculation, but it was not a false flag.